Yeah, hi everyone, and thank you for tuning in to my latest video. This is basically another surface mount rework video in which I'm going to take IC5 off the board and I'm going to show you how to do it using 4 different sort of methods. Method number 1, I'm just going to use the general one that most people would probably do. I'm going to use a hot air rework station, but I fully understand not everyone's going to have one of them available, so I will show you 3 other methods which, you know, hopefully you have got the tools required for them. So yeah, what we do, we get straight on with method 1. So like I say, I'm going to use a hot air rework station for this. So the first thing I'll do, I'll just generally run a little bit of flux up each side just to sort of aid the solder melting. Normally I'd protect the other components around this with foil tape, but because there's no plastic parts nearby, I sort of don't really need to. So what I do, I've got my station set up to about 360 degrees, which is probably hot enough for this. And yeah, what you do, you just run the sort of hot air pencil round the body, start sort of circle it first of all, and then just get a little bit closer. And you'll see the solder start to melt in sort of quite a few seconds, and then just gently sort of lift the component off its pads. You just got to make sure you don't try and take it off too early, because you risk sort of lifting the pads with it. But this is quite a safe method. Just got to make sure you wait till all the solder's melted on every pad, and then it'll just lift off. You just keep circling it until you're sort of quite happy. And pretty soon that's going to go both sides. Just keep moving the pencil about. Any minute now it's going to go. Well, there you go, it's starting to go now. Just gently sort of lift it off. Pads are fine, no damage. So that's method number 1 for getting the IC off. And yeah, so that's quite a safe method. You sort of never do damage with these really, as long as you sort of don't try and take it off too early. So yeah, that's a good method. But like I said, I fully understand if you haven't got a rework station. So I'll show you 3 other methods. So yeah, that's like I say, method number 1. Hi again. So yeah, method number 2. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to cut the legs, which obviously if you don't need the IC, it's not a problem. So what I've already done, I've already cut sort of the first side along there. So I'm going to show you how I cut the second side, and this way you can just sort of gently tweak the body away. And yeah, this is a good option if you haven't got an air rework station. So obviously you won't be able to use an IC again, but it's quite a good option. So literally what I do first, I score along the top of each leg. I don't do the last one, I'll show you why in a sec. So I generally go along about 3 or 4 times, so you go about halfway down the leg. So just do one more. Just got to be quite careful, and then what you do, if you sort of push a bit harder, you hear a click. Got to be careful. You've got the protection of the leg next to it, sort of stopping the blade going too low. That's what I do, because I've already done the other side. So that's got all them done. So I don't do the last one. I tend to do that with my iron. So I literally just get my tweezers around the body, just put my iron on the end, and that way I've got just one joint to unsolder. So that should just lift off. There you go, you've got no damage to the board. Then what you can do, you can just go along the legs and just sort of tweak them off and clean them up with solder wick. You can just do that on all of them. And so yeah, that's quite a good option, cutting the body off. And you can do this option with 4-sided quad flat packs, no matter how many pins, as long as you're quite careful. Like I say, just sort of score along the top about 3 or 4 times, about halfway down. And then you've got the protection when you're sort of using the blade of the next leg. And yeah, it's a good method. I've used it a lot over the years, and yeah, never do any damage. So yeah, that's method number 2. Right, so now we come on to option number 3. This is where literally I just tweak up each leg, sort of just by putting my tweezers under the leg. I lift it up about 1/2 mm to 1 mm, and then what I do, I go along and wick off all the solder, So I've got all these sort of lifted apart. I don't lift that last one. I've already lifted these just for the sake of the video. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you how I lift the pins, and then I'll wick off the solder. And then literally you've only got one joint to sort of undo at the end. So just run a little bit of flux along. So I've sort of preloaded my iron with a bit of solder. So what I'll do now, just put my iron on that end joint. So I'll get my tweezers under the sort of under the pin. Just tweak that up a little bit, about 1 mil. So do the same with the next one. Just lift up about 1 millimetre. This way, if you can reuse these chips, all you got to do afterwards is straighten them up. So you just get your tweezers under. Don't go too high, otherwise the chip will be sort of unusable again. This is quite a good option if you want to reuse the chips, and it's pretty safe, this option. So you don't need to do that last one, you can do that in a minute. So what you do is get a bit of wick, and literally just run it along. Just wick off all there, make sure they're all sort of free. You can sort of see it going as you go along. So just make sure they're all loose before I try and do the last one. You should see a little bit of movement in all of them. Yep, so literally, because I've already done the other side, I've now only got to undo one leg with the solder. So I just get my tweezers on the body, and they should lift straight up. So there you go. So what you can do then is just clean it. I've already done the other side, so that's why it's nice and clean. So yeah, you can sort of wick off the second side. Just got to wick off that one. They're pretty clean, so you've got no damage. The chip's reusable once you straighten the legs. So yeah, that's a good method if you want to reuse the chip. So that's sort of method number 3. Right, so finally we move on to method number 4. This is the final sort of option that I know about, and yeah, it's my favourite. And this is literally, all you need for this is 2 soldering irons, no other tools, just a second iron. And if you haven't got a second iron, well worth getting one, because there's so much you can do with it. All you do for this option is just literally run along both sides, joining every pin together. So you've got a great blob right along both sides. This is quite safe, this option, because the board's got no power going to it. So yeah, it's quite a safe option, and this is probably my preferred choice out of all the 4. So all I do, get a second iron. What you can do then, just hold your iron on both sides, wait till it's gone right along the line and melted. I tend to turn it on its side, sort of hold it there, and I'd get my tweezers and just sort of grab the IC body and just remelt the second side and just take the excess away. And then, like say, afterwards you can just go along it with wick and get the excess solder off. But this is a really safe option for 2-sided ICs. And in general, a second iron is a great option for taking off resistors, tants, and all sorts of sort of bigger 2-sided components. In fact, I'll probably do a video on the uses of 2 irons one day, because it's really good. So well worth getting another one. So there you go, got a lovely clean board with no damage, and that's probably my preferred option. So yeah, out of 4 methods, I hope there's something useful for all of you, and yeah, thanks for looking in, and much appreciated. And yeah, there's a subscribe link on the screen, so if you like what you saw today, yeah, please hit the subscribe, and I'll put a few more videos up. And yeah, until next time, thank you for looking in, and yeah, bye for now.